This is about what do we take away from Daymond and his knowledge and expertise in life. You started out with really humble beginnings. You were selling t-shirts and hats, and everybody does t-shirts. How did you look at that differently?
Well, FUBU just came for literally for us, by us, who's ever gonna love and support the brand, right? And that was it. And you know, as you look at the years, that was 40 years ago when I came up with the name, or maybe something like 38 years ago. You look like it was so crap. And no, I was drinking a 40 dog in the basement, and I came up with that. But I've always had the ability to sell, because there's no one way to sell things. As people say, there's everybody has clothing. Everybody has everything. There's nothing in this world that somebody does not have. I mean, the top company in the world is a sugary brown drink with bubbles in it. The top brand on Shark Tank is a bunch of socks called Bombas Socks. It's socks. And the second brand is a sponge. By the way, I own the first brand, the #1 brand in Shark Tank. So if you see all those underachievers, my fellow sharks who walk around the casino, let them know that. But it was my ability to sell. So when I would sell a hat to someone in a corner, there was not one pitch. There was, this hat is going to match your clothes. This hat, you're going to look like De La Soul. This one's going to keep your head warm. This one's a great gift for you. Everybody will have a different experience. And I think that it was my ability to let people know that I'm here for that experience. And everybody here is going to walk through here with a different experience.
Absolutely. You had to have hit some resistance as you started to launch companies and brands that weren't there yet. How did you deal with, I would assume, some rejection, or maybe a lot of rejection?
I'm married. I have rejection every single day.
How did you?
Usually about 7 times a day.
Well, when you were trying to launch your company, how did you deal with that? And how do you keep moving forward after you get a few doors slammed one in a row?
Rejection is a grenade with the pin taken out. Give it to somebody else. Rejection, whenever I looked at its target, I said to myself, did I communicate what I was trying to say effectively? Did I communicate it also like I have one mouth and 2 ears? That means I listened twice as much as I was speaking to the person. Did I study what the person wanted? Was their body language showing me something? Was I pressing it too much? And then if they rejected me, then I would say, well, maybe they weren't ready for it. They didn't get it. You know, no to me, as the CMO of Pepsi told me one day, no to me is a request for more information. And then when I went home, I didn't say to myself, well, maybe it's because I'm short. Maybe it's because I'm African American. Maybe it's because I'm poor. Maybe it's because I'm extremely good looking. I would say to myself, there's somebody going to find value in what I'm doing. You know, I got to deal with Samsung's textile division. Anybody heard of Samsung's textile division? I didn't go to #1, #2. I didn't go to Nike and Ralph Lauren. I went to number 200, who wants to be #1. And when people walk through those doors, they want to feel like #1. And I'm so confident in myself, if you don't find value in me, maybe it wasn't in the cards. Yeah. It's not my problem, though, because I'm going to keep investing in myself.
I love that. That's awesome. What motivates you to keep going? Why do you want to do the next thing? Why don't you just go fishing and chill?
It's a good question. It's taken me years to realize that, you know, I think that the 3 pillars to success, the hardest pillar is knowing your why. You know, too many of us are trying to do our why because our parents said that that was success when they were growing up. Or we're trying to impress a bunch of people on social media that we actually don't know. But once I know my why, then I know how to set the appropriate goals. And when I set the appropriate goals, I know how to do my homework to enforce the goals. But a lot of us are not truthful about our why. We're in horrible relationships, and we're afraid because we just don't want to leave the relationship because we think that we don't have any value and we don't want to go someplace else. But I get lost sometimes. I reset, and I do this thing called goal setting. I do it every single night, every single morning. I would say it is the #1 reason that I've experienced whatever success I've had. I haven't come up with the idea. I got it from Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which I've read 24 times. Every single night when I go to bed, I read the same exact 10 goals. 6 of them expire in 6 months. The other 4 expire in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years. I never hit my 6-month goals. If I'm going to make this amount of money, I make this amount. When I reset is this. I'm going to spend this amount of time with my family, this amount, boom. Lose this amount of weight. The reason why I read them before I go to bed is because I want it to be the last thing I think about when I go to sleep. Are you a CEO that knows that you've done everything to master your craft? Now you need to take your personal brand to the next level? Well, I love working one-on-one with game-changing CEOs. And if you're interested, reach out. Go to workwithashark.com and fill out the form. Now, back to the video. And the reason I read it in the morning, because if I don't, we're too connected and we let everybody take the most precious things that we have in our life from us in the morning. We let them take our time and our thoughts. Because I'm human. If I don't read them once every 2 weeks, I do this in the morning. I look at social media first. And everybody I know on social media, they're richer than me, they're skinnier than me, and they're all in Greece, for Christ's sakes. When do these people work? And then I do this. I open up the email. And opening up an email is letting somebody else, letting their problems into your life. Before you even kiss your dog or your significant other, they might be the same person. But if you open up your email, you let everybody problems in there. So if I don't do my goal setting, well, now I wake up with social media depression and everybody else's problems on my mind. I go and drill down on my why. Started 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago, I started cutting off, New Year's Eve, I started cutting off who I felt that was toxic in my life. And if they weren't a good friend to themselves, they would never be a good friend to me. Or if I wasn't a good friend to them, there was a reason why. Maybe I just wasn't a good friend. And I cut off that year, I cut off 8 people. The next year I cut off like 3. Now I don't have to cut anybody off. But it was that person that maybe I didn't speak to for a month at a time, but every time I posted something or every time I wanted to say something or even be honest with them, I was dying by paper cuts.
You cut them off?
Gone. Don't speak to them at all. And my life has been better. You know why? I made more time for people that I could appreciate and love and that could love me. And those things, we are often consumed by them. We can't be a good servant to anybody if we are dying with this toxicity. You know, every person here is a customer to the boss, and the boss is a customer to you. You can't be of any value if you're not happy with yourselves. And then you take it out on other people.
Why do you do what you do? What drives you? Why do you keep doing the next thing?
I got little boys and girls of all colors and nationalities and creeds that say, if he can make it, I can make it, Mom. And I have families that look at me on a show that they're the hardest working families in the world, but they weren't taught financial intelligence in this broken school system at 6 or 7 years old, and now they're living underwater in debt. And if I can give them that information with their children, well, then once you get older, if I educate them at 6 or 7 or 8 and break the school system and everybody else says, we want to make more books and things like that to compete with me, not that I'm making any money, just to compete with me, well, then I've done my job, because what happens is if we don't have financial intelligence with children, when you grow up at 17, 8 years old and you got these predatory people trying to lend you money for a college education you don't even know if you need anymore, all of a sudden you're paying this debt off until 50 years old. When you're in debt, they're going to consume the cheapest things in this country. They're made of butter, sugar, and salt. You're going to die earlier. You're going to change cribs to colleges to cribs to corrections. And that is one of the things, because I want to leave my little daughters a legacy when I die. Those are my whys today. Now, will they change tomorrow? Probably not. Before it used to be about making enough money. Before it used to be about challenging myself and how do I motivate people and how do I acquire new companies. Now it's purely about having fun, changing people's lives, and breaking the financial system. I mean, the lack of finance, excuse me.
It's pretty strong wise.
If you're a CEO like I was, where I mastered my craft, but I know that I needed to master my personal brand, well then, you've come to the right guy. I love working with CEOs that are already game changers and just need to take it to the next level, but nobody out there has experienced what they have experienced, and nobody out there can take them to where they want to go. Well, I can. And if you want to find out more about it, reach out. Go to workwithashark.com. And thanks for watching. And make sure you subscribe. Peace.